Good morning, everybody, and welcome. Everybody awake now after the big party yesterday, I hope. I like to talk about a topic which we probably not have had or have so often here, but I think it's a very interesting one. It's about building a product based on the amazing platform of Odoo. And I will start with an introduction of who we are. Then I want to describe a bit the basic concept. What is the principal idea? And then I will show you two examples where we have built already a product on Odoo with an own brand. And then afterwards we discuss on how we can help you or somebody building a product on Odoo and why we have the very good infrastructure already to support this. And later on, of course, I'm very interested in a discussion and in your feedback on that topic. Who are we? My name is Tobias Hammeke. I'm the CEO and founder of the OBS Solutions. We are partners since 2015 and started in Germany in 2016. And now we are, as you can see, a team of about 70 people in a couple of countries in Europe and in the US and Canada. And as you see on the right side, that's not working, I think, no. We are founding partner of the Best Odoo Partners Alliance. So we have aligned with 8-9 partners globally to really form a network. And as well, we are member of the OCA. We are platinum sponsors there. So we try to really use Odoo, of course, within the OBS Solutions for customer projects to implement ERPs, as all do. But we like to as well try to use Odoo on a bit broader scale. What does it mean building a product on Odoo? I mean, it's amazing that, as you know, Odoo is open, the core is open source, and so the Odoo community can be used as a community edition, in addition with Odoo Enterprise. And what we have done over the past years already, we've built several industry solutions. And of course, you can offer services and whatever solutions on top of that. But what you could do as well is, you could, of course, then take this and define your own branding, your own brand, your own software brand and product. And in the past years, therewith we have established two startups, SmartBricks and Ginkgo. I will come later a bit and explain what they are doing. But the idea is within the OBS Solutions to have the capabilities to operate like a startup incubator and to develop products and brands on Odoo. So that we have started already a couple of years ago, and we will enlarge this in the future. And the next thing is, of course, and that's a very interesting one, but we will start next year with that, is we would like to, with a partner or with partners, we would like to finance existing software companies, so buy them actually, and then develop the next generation of software based on Odoo. That's our next thing we will go for next year. Let me explain a bit the process of those two things. We've called it OBS Campus, OBS Investments. So OBS Campus is the one to establish a startup. And how do we start? I mean, we have a look at what area is interesting. Can I use the mouse? No. So we actually start then with a concept idea. Then we prepare a draft solution on Odoo, and we try to get a very early market launch. So we go to markets very early in order to get feedback. And that's, of course, working with the own brand, as well as via our Odoo network. And then it takes some time to establish the brand. We get first customers, we onboard them, have first success stories, and make sure that the product is really a good fit to the market. And then later on we scale it internationally. I come later to the concept on how we do that together with the Bob Alliance and of course as well with the Odoo community. Yeah, and at the end then we have a software company and then you can decide if you stick to it or if you exit or whatsoever. Well, and the second approach, the OBS investment, well, that is something, as I said, we will start that next year. The idea is to set up a private equity fund or be part of a private equity fund in order to have, well, to have money to be able to purchase then or acquire companies. Of course, then as you do that, when you do a private equity activity, you do short-term improvements. But the real idea behind our approach is then, in parallel, we develop the next generation of software for this company on Odoo. And of course, the target companies we go for are companies that have old software or offer old software at the moment and have real trouble in building the next generation of their software themselves. And I have done some investigation over the past months, and there's plenty of companies that have really now trouble. They have a good brand. They are in the market since 30 years or 20, 30 years, but they have the trouble. It's impossible for them within their development team to build the next generation software. And of course, we would do that then in parallel. And then after 2-3 years of development, we would then exchange the old software for the new one, which was built on Odoo. Yeah, and here as well, then we have the possibility to scale it internationally and then to keep it or whatsoever. If we work with a private equity, normally they want to have an exit then. So that is the principal idea, principal concept of building a product or using the Odoo platform. Why is Odoo the ideal platform? First of all, of course, Odoo is open source, so we have really the option to do that. We can do it even together with enterprise, so we can sell actually both. Well, as you know, Odoo is very holistic, and therefore the Odoo modules can be relevant for a variety of industry solutions or industry ERPs or industry company softwares. Well, as you know, probably as well, if you are from the Odoo background or if you have a bit of Odoo background, Odoo is very easy to adapt. So we can really customize it strongly if we need to. And well, all the other advantages of Odoo, of course. You can integrate it into other software if you need to. Another thing as well, and that's why we have as well started to be in the OCA, is there's a lot of know-how available within the Odoo community. I mean, we generally have the approach to work strongly with partners. And of course, the last one is Odoo is, as you could have seen probably over the last days and years, Odoo is currently really going through the roof. Let me give you 2 examples of what we have. I mean, what products we have created. First one is Smart Bricks. You see here own branding, and that is a fully integrated real estate software. And as far as we know, there's none that is not existing in that specific area on the market. I mean, we have not done a research worldwide, but speaking for Germany, there's no software that can support agents, project developers, and administration at the same time in the same software. And well, we thought that was the first initial idea that this is a very interesting industry for us. Here's a bit of timeline on how we've done that. So we started beginning 2020 with a market analysis. We started with first research, looking at the market. Then we found the company in 21, a year later actually. So we had already then developed quite some part. Today we would do that quicker. Yeah, you see in the other example we have done that far quicker because one big learning is you have to have the market launch, which we did end of 21. You have to do it earlier in order to get feedback, in order to get as well first references. Yeah, and now we are in the phase that we have done some successful projects in all three areas actually, or even with companies that are present in all three areas. In Germany, we have been focusing on Germany first, so to have as well a local market and not to be international in the beginning. But now what we will do, and there's a talk after my talk, I think the talk is here downstairs as well, about more details about smart bricks. Now we want to look how we can do an international launch. And well, if we have started that, we will in the next years see that we get cost coverage we will have quite soon, we guess. And then of course we have to look how to scale it. And how scaling is, I will show a bit later. Yeah, the second example is Ginkgo Pharmasoft. That is a software for pharmacies. As well here we have started in Germany first and have to have a look if we can bring it broader in the future. And here we've seen, for example, in this market as well, that they, in Germany at least, work with very, very old software, and they are not capable of doing certain operations within that software, like, for example, e-commerce sales or deliveries of medicines or so. That is not possible with the old software. And specifically in this market, because we went to the fair, as you can see in Munich, I spoke to the players that are in the market, and I said, well, look, why is your software so ugly? And why can it not facilitate certain things? And they said, well, look, this software is 30, 35, 40 years old, and we have tried for 10 years already to develop something, and we failed. And that's why, I think, they've asked the same guys that developed the old software, they've asked them to develop a new software on a new infrastructure. And I think that's not working. You have to separate it for a certain time, otherwise it's not working. And actually, with all the major players in the pharmacy market in Germany, it's the same story. Yeah, here we have started in spring this year, as well with a market analysis. We did not consider the pharmacy area at all unless we got a customer via Odo, which told us how old the software is in that market. And with him we have done a successful project, and that's how we got into this idea. Yeah, well, and in summer we found the company, and then in September we had already the market launch. So you see here the time span is far shorter than before. And we had to do the market launch in September because it was the biggest pharmacy fair in Munich, as I said. So we had to really hurry up. And it was very important to do that so early because we got so many feedback from the market. Of course, the software is not 100% ready that we can plug and play tomorrow. No, but we got so many feedbacks so that we as well could reconsider a bit on in which direction we are going to develop ourselves. Yeah, now the idea is, of course, in that should be 23 actually, get the first successful projects and then drive it further. So that were two examples of brands we have built with Odo, and as I said, we like to drive that even far quicker in the next month and years. And well, let me explain a bit on how that's working, or why we have as well a very good infrastructure to facilitate this. So on the right-hand side, right-hand side, you see the products, and we like to build, of course, more products with the same concept. And then, of course, with this brand, you have the a possibility to later on scale it worldwide if you want. No? That is the normal way. You found a startup somewhere, and then you try to drive it. And but within the Odo ecosystem, we, of course, as OBS Solutions, one of the leading Odo integrator, we use this as well as an industry solution, and we go via the Odo market. So we say we have an industry solution, for example, in the real estate industry, and that's why via the Odo brand we can scale it as well in our markets. So these are the markets which we support at the moment, or where we are present at the moment. On top of that, and that is the Bob Alliance, as I mentioned before, our alliance with 8-9 partners worldwide, which will grow as well. We have, of course, the possibility to scale via them as well, worldwide. Yeah. So, and that's another opportunity. I mean, you have your own brand that can grow, but in addition, you have the Odoo ecosystem, which can grow the brand as well. And well, how do you grow a brand? Mainly, especially in the beginning, you need references, you need testimonials, you need customers that say, well, this software is working for me. Yeah, and of course, then other customers come on. And well, the first customers we have for SmartBricks, for example, they like 50% or even more come via the Odoo network. Yeah, in the beginning. Yeah, how do we support that? What's the infrastructure at OBS Solutions? We are building this, yeah, that's not full existing yet, but the idea is that we have OBS Solutions as the main driver, as the know-how carrier, and herewith, of course, we have the Odoo know-how to do that at all. Then in the middle, it's called OBS Campus. The campus is not existing, yeah, that's the Google Campus, just as an illustration. But we want to build as well a physical campus, not as big, of course. But with the OBS Campus, the idea is to drive this startup idea further, to be a bit like a startup incubator in the future. Well, we of course start with Odoo, but that could be as well in the future, perhaps be done on different infrastructure tools, etc. Well, then we have the part on the right, the OBS investment. This is the one we like to get. We like to partner up with a private equity firm in order to have more capabilities in buying a company, developing Odoo or the next generation software on Odoo, and then, well, selling it in case of a private equity company. Below you see a few functions which we are building up at the moment at OBS. So the idea is as well to support our companies with shared services. That will be all, in the beginning at least, software companies, so they all have the same necessities in the various aspects. So legal, tax, finance, accounting, HR development, principles, purchasing, as well business development and marketing. Yeah, we build currently a strong team as well in the area of business development marketing, so how you can really facilitate that growth and support that growth. And of course, we have the partner network. So that's a bit on one page, our infrastructure at OBS. Yeah. Coming to the last page, what are we looking for? Well, we are looking, of course, for people that are willing or able to execute as startup or even as executive managers with these ideas in the background. We look for software companies that are looking for a modern dedicated ERP system. So we want to really get in touch with software companies, as you see. And of course, as well, with software companies that have outdated software. So, and we could facilitate that idea, of course, with investing in the company, but as well without investing in it. So we are just building. We are not buying the company. The company stays as it is, but we build the next generation together with them. Yeah, of course, we look then for software companies that fit to that approach and cooperate with a private equity firm and of course then with partners there. Yeah, and the next step is just drive this idea further, and actually, I mean, it's like a kickoff today. So, but we really like to go into that direction, and by that use the full potential of Odoo and of the Odoo ecosystem. Yeah, that's from my side so far. Thank you very much for your attention, and I'm very happy to discuss and answer questions.
Okay, thank you for your talk. If there is any question in the audience, feel free to ask now.
Hello, thanks for the talk. I'm interested if you're building this on the enterprise or on the CE version, like if you do your own solutions.
We want to build it that it's feasible for both. So we are building it on the Odoo community, but it works as well with the Odoo Enterprise version.
But if you build your like own products where you are like offering a service, are you then using the enterprise version? Like for smart bricks, for example?
Well, we can use the enterprise version or the community. It depends a bit on the necessity of the customer. It could be that we need enterprise modules, and then we would use the enterprise version.
All right, thank you.
Any other question?
Is there a place for public-private partnerships, or isn't that in the focus?
That's an interesting idea, or interesting, yeah, of course, that can be as well in the focus. We are currently very, very open to discuss a variety of topics. Very interesting was when we were at the Expo Farm in Munich, that we got contacted by big players, by really big players, and they were fascinated about the idea that we are actually independent. The pharmacy market is very, and as well by public companies. So they were very interested in getting a solution, getting a white label or something, which they can then facilitate via their existing network. So we have 2 or 3 discussions in the next weeks on how that could be done. Yeah. So we are very open to ideas. I mean, there's a lot of potential within this idea, I think, generally.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else?
Hi, thanks for the talk. Now, it's interesting the idea that you choose to invest in the construction sector. That is a very strange sector right now. So there is a great boost on technology, on the adoption of new technology, the BIM technology, etc. But there is also a very difficult sector because we will see in the recent 2 years different collapse of company, like in China. So it's a very strange sector, and I would like to ask you, why do you choose that particular sector to create your application for the IC sector?
When you say construction, you mean building?
Yeah, building,
real
IC,
estate.
yeah, real estate,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. The question is, why do we choose that sector?
Yeah, because it's a very peculiar sector, I would like to say. So it's very retro as a technology. So I think that because I'm also part of that world, and is 20 years behind the manufacturing, for example.
Yeah.
And I would like to understand why you choose that the IC sector to invest for this kind of digital solution.
Why we were choosing the real estate sector.
The real estate.
The real estate, and part of that is the project development. Yeah, I mean, we've seen as well that, well, there's a couple of arguments actually why we chose the sector generally. One is there's no software existing that covers all 3. And there's plenty of companies that actually are an agency. Probably they start with building, then they need to sell their apartments or their houses. So then you need an agency, and then of course you need to have maintenance and an administration of the. So it's very interesting. For me, it was just blew me away when I figured out that there's no software that can facilitate all. And regarding the construction, and as well the software in that area is very old in all particular areas. Yeah, in the agencies, there are 2 big arguments actually for going into that area. And well, the construction business at the moment is probably the one that we have at least developed from Odoo Standard. So we have done huge adaptation for agencies and for administration specifically, but we have probably done less in the construction business because Odoo generally supports it already quite good from the Odoo standard. Yeah. Nevertheless, of course, in the future, but I think, well, we have a talk later at 10 in detail about it. I think our biggest customer is focusing on the construction business now. Yeah. Perhaps. Yeah. Thank you.
Are you open to collaboration with other partners that are adopting a similar model to this?
Yes, certainly. We collaborate a lot. We are probably one of the partners that collaborate most with other partners because we see Odoo is growing like crazy. So we have to consider as well strategically the full potential of Odoo, and that's only possible with a partner network. Not one company can do everything. That's just impossible. And we have with the Bob Alliance, for example, a very strong network already now, which will grow. And we collaborate. We like to collaborate on other things. For example, we do now the market launch, the international launch for Smart Bricks. And it's not only that we want to work with the Bob Alliance, but as well with other partners that say, well, I'm specialist in, let's say, where do you come from?
Malta.
From?
Malta.
From Malta. So if you say, well, we are specialists in Malta for the real estate sector, then we are looking as well for a partner there that can use our software and sell and service it over there. So the idea is with all of these startups as well to create their own go-to-market approach for internationally. And of course, that is as well, only from my perspective, possible with partners. So we don't want to open an office in Malta and so on.
No, I'm talking about a different model. What I'm saying here is, for example, with us, we have a very similar approach. We are building our own products on top of Odoo.
Okay.
Would that be interesting for you to have a discussion to use shared
Sure.
contacts and networks?
Sure.
Okay.
Let's keep in touch later.
Yeah, sure.
So I see we are running out of time. So I thank you very much for being here today.
Thank
and
you.
I can give you a good round of applause.
Thank you. Bye-bye.